Hello to you all, and welcome to the Pitcast, brought to you by the Pit Crew Online, by the fans, for the fans. Today we're talking all things off-road as we discuss the WRC season review. I'm joined by our resident WRC editor, Warren.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining.
I mean, of course, Warren's here. It's a WRC podcast. But so, if for those who don't know, Seb Ogier won his 7th title with his third manufacturer after a nail-biting finale with teammate Elvin Evans, the British Hope. Warren, do you want to just give us a quick rundown of the season, of the finale?
Yeah, so it was a really interesting season with kind of two halves, I feel. That early part of the season with Monte, followed by Sweden, and a shortened Mexico by late March, and then 6 months with no activity. Obviously, we know why. So many motorsport events being and championships being affected this year, and then we came back with a grey event in September with Estonia, followed through with the remaining events that were kind of hastily added together. That was an impressive drive from the season, should I say, from Ogier, joining a new team, Toyota Camp, having switched from Citroen at the end of the year when they pulled out, with various reasons for that. Incredibly, it was a real inter-team battle really between himself and Alvin for the overall lead throughout the year, with Ogier finally coming through at Monza. So yeah, it was a spectacular year. We're going to discuss all of the turning points in this podcast.
Yeah, the last event, for those who don't know, was held at Monza, the Temple of Speed in Formula One circles. But yeah, it was interesting to see the old banking being used by the rally teams, and there was some quite treacherous conditions, wasn't there? There was all sorts of weather to battle.
Yeah, it was incredibly wet finale with a bit of dry on the final morning, but mostly it was very, very wet. Or as we discovered out on Saturday when they went into the mountains, almost like Monte, being the other side of where Monte Carlo would normally be held. The roads are very similar around there to what you expect to see in those classic stages like Citroen and over the top of the mountains in Monte Carlo. So yeah, there was a lot of discussion about the snow that was predicted in the week before, boy, was there a lot of snow in the end. It was spectacular in that respect. But of course, putting down using the Monza track with these various bollards and tape used on the start-finish straight and throughout the rest of the track, and of course the use of the banking, which I can't remember the last time I was using Formula One, probably late 70s. That seeing those cars flying around those bank corners was, I felt pretty spectacular in its own right. And very wet on the circuit, and the cars, they were really angled towards the tarmac setup, but when they headed up into the mountains, it was a very much what's the word I'm looking for? Compromise required for the different weather that was being thrown at the crews really, and the choice of tyres and all that stuff. So yeah, it was spectacular, but and of course heartbreaking in the end for Alvin, sliding off the road like that. I often think back to seeing that stage. A lot of these stages were run a bit later than expected because of delays earlier on. So I do wonder, if that stage had started at normal time, maybe Alvin would have made it through and wouldn't have gone off the road like that. A big shame for the British Hope and a lot of Welsh hopes, to be perfectly honest, were dashed on that Saturday.
Yeah, it was.
Weren't they?
It was a big shame to see him go off. Obviously, you think nail-biting rally finales. The only one I can think that's more heartbreaking is Carlos Sainz in '98 when his car broke down about 300 yards from the end of the stage. So
Yeah, that was Margam Park, wasn't it? So I'm assuming I pronounced that correctly. Yeah, that was actually Tommy versus Carlos, Mitsubishi versus Toyota in that 99.
I think '98, '99 was too. But
season.
it's weird
So,
how Tommy's involved in both. Like, obviously, he's the team principal of Toyota nowadays, and it was his drivers battling for the title.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, there are some changes there, of course, which we've found out in recent days. But yeah, Tommy, I think he's done I'm going to ramble a bit, but Tommy has done a great job bringing Toyota back into the championship and start 2017, and to take two driver titles and a championship for the manufacturers in that time shows how good that whole team setup really is. That he built up around him. Team obviously originally called Tommy McInerney. So yeah. So shall we chat about the full year then?
Yeah,
Shall we start at the beginning and maybe talk about the teams?
Yeah, we can do. Yeah, that sounds good to me. I mean, so first rally was, if I can remember right, it was Monte Carlo. Pretty much nearly a year ago now, which is crazy to think. My main sort of taking point from that was Oitanak's crash, which was a mammoth crash and testament to the new build rally cars these days that he survived it. I mean, went flying up into the trees and like a 60-foot drop or something, I think.
Yeah, he just he lost control on that left-hander, didn't he? And just went off, and they're just passengers at that point. Him and Martin in the first outing in the I-20 WRC, which is one of the great looking cars, to be honest. Yeah, it was no points for him, the reigning champion, crashing out like that, having spectacularly taken the title at the end of the previous year. Yeah, so first non-French driver to win the title since a certain Norwegian called Peter Solberg. And we're going to talk more about that later, I think, with his son coming through. But massive crash. I think the key things moments of Monte Carlo were very much how there was that constant fight between Thierry, Oid's teammate, Ogier, and Elvin showing a great pace, which we saw. We did see that he has a very good pace, and he's become a very good all-round driver on the tarmac. Because we saw that last year when he and Scott nearly took that victory in Tour de Course. The mix was there, and the fight was on between all three of them really for the victory. And I wonder a little bit if Elvin might look back at that event and just think, oh crikey, maybe if I'd managed to take that victory then, probably even a second place, perhaps I would now be the champion. But to finish, he finished. That was his best finish in Monte anyway. So it was definitely a big improvement in terms of results for the Welshman. Starting his second year with Scott in the car, former co-driver, of course, Greg Breen. So Ogier took second in the end, of course, but it was the Belgian who not only won the race, obviously the event, but took the full 5 points from the half stage as well. So, what are your thoughts on that ultimate fight there, Aaron?
I mean, it's a fight between three quality drivers. You take Tanak out of the equation, and there's still 3 or 4 drivers capable of winning the rally. I mean, if I'm just looking at Thierry's results over the season, this was as good as it got. He only got the one win all year.
Yeah.
And he had a really sort of topsy-turvy year by the look of it.
Did.
Whereas, the likes of Elfin and Ogier have both been really consistent, which just says how competitive the championship is these days. Back in the days of Seb Loeb, it was Ford had put a challenge up for a bit and then Seb he'd run away with it in the end. Whereas now, I mean, I know Toyota took the first two steps, but Hyundai were in there right till the end.
They were.
And obviously, M Sport aren't exactly always far away either. To pick up the pieces if anyone goes off. So, but yeah, I mean, it was a great Monte Carlo rally. It's always a spectacle because it starts the season off and it's so treacherous. It could be signed, sealed, delivered into the final stage, and someone will go off and it changes altogether. It's just a magnificent event. I really do love it.
Yeah, and it was good to obviously give for a few years ago when it wasn't in the championship, it became part of that continental sort of rally championship, which certain Chris Meek won back in the day. But yeah, it's good that it's back in the WRC on a regular basis as the start to the season, mid-January, the snow, the ice. It just offers up such a spectacular challenge to the crews, guessing what the conditions might be later on the week when they're doing their race and so on. So, yeah, I think, it was I think if it hadn't gone off, I think he probably would have been challenging for the podium. I think that's fair to say. The car has a pace. And Thierry's challenged for victory there before, so he just obviously managed to put it all together after, I think it was 2017 when he was leading quite comprehensively and then obviously crashed, ripped up a wheel by going on one of the Saturday stages when he had quite a decent lead. So yeah, it was good to see the Belgian take victory, and obviously he was leading the championship at that point with 30 points. Whilst obviously Ogier was a little bit further back, and then Albon third in the championship, which really, for a start for a new car for the team, for him and Scott, boded well. And then we moved on to Sweden.
Yeah, I mean, again, a big spectacle. The one that caught my eye, and this one was Kalle Rovanperä. I think it was. I mean, you're going to correct me if I'm wrong. It's one of his first podiums in the top tier.
Yeah,
finishing third, which is no mean feat in Sweden. I mean, it's where his dad took his only rally win 20 years ago, and then the son comes up to get a podium 20 years later.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Kalle, making his debut in Monte in a full WRC car. We know he's been in the lower WRC 2 with in the R5 cars previously, but yeah, stepping into that new car, taking at the time, obviously in Monte, taking 5th position, and you look at the other kind of rookie, Gus Greensmith, he had some issues. So yeah, he certainly showed some great speed, shall we say, and when you look at the actual, excuse me, getting my thoughts, the stage victories, he took a stage victory, his first in Sweden. So that definitely, I would say, contributed to his decent result there, his first ever WRC podium. Definitely showing that he should be in one of these cars.
I mean,
good for that.
I mean, obviously, Elfin took the win, which is again magnificent. Tanak recovered from Monte with a 2nd place, and obviously Kalle got third. So you had Seb Ogier in 4th, and Esa-Pekka Lappi in 5th, which is a good result for M Sport.
Yeah, Lappi was definitely fired up when I spoke to him at the start of the year, and although he didn't take a stage victory there, he definitely was in the mix near the front, and I think with a bit more pace out of the Fiesta, perhaps he would have been on the podium, But yeah, it was a great drive by Rovanpera. I've got to come back to Elvin. Really, that was the first victory for a fully British crew, shall we say? An Englishman and a Welshman in that Toyota. Some have been saying, I saw some comments not long after that on various forums. Oh, it was a different event, and he lucked into it, and he thought he deserves that victory 100%. If you think back to 2019 when he was still in the Fiesta, he actually took stage victories on a proper full snowy Rally Sweden. So I don't accept that argument in terms of he was a shorter event, and the conditions were the same for all, and they all had an opportunity. I think obviously, starting third on the road would certainly have helped him as the cars in front went through. In particular, at that point, big championship leader Thierry, we have to obviously talk about him in this event. He took 6, but he was obviously first on the road throughout the first day, and that does hold you back, unfortunately. But actually, to take 6 was, I think, a fairly decent result for the Belgian at that point. Yeah. So
I mean, I'm just trying to go through these as quick as we can. If we move on to Mexico, which was the last event before the lockdown put an end to things. So obviously, Ogier took his first win of the season. You had Tanak again picking up another second place. Team who was sooner than him came up for third place, which is again another quality result for him sport. With Elfin fourth and Kelly Rovanpera fifth.
Yeah, and it definitely with the Ogier taking that first victory, who thought that Elvin would win first in the Toyota than Ogier? I think I don't think many people would have bet on that. So that was that was a good result for Ogier at that point, and it meant that it just kept him in championship contention. And of course, the other thing to bear in mind is Mexico actually finished a day early in the scheme of things. So who knows what would have potentially happened on Sunday if those stages had been held, still been run. Would Elvin potentially have got off third place? He might have done. Bear in mind, he and Scott were opening the road for the first time ever in their career. So Mexico, very hot, very dry gravel event. Interesting, this year there wasn't any of the fog and things like that you normally get in the mountains. So and then that was it, wasn't it? It was kind of everyone back to Europe, leaving early because of that, the COVID.
Yeah, I mean, and that was when we did like a sort of a preview to an extent. We did a podcast where we put some predictions forward. I can't remember off the top of my head all the predictions, but I mean, I'd like to look back now and see what we said and see what came true and what didn't. But yeah, so obviously there was the long layoff. We all know why it happened. So it was a case of wait till we can start turning wheels again. We got a provisional calendar, which half of it never happened. We were supposed to rally in Japan and I think it was Ypres as well. And there was a few more, but they're the two I can remember, and Belgium. And
there were a few. Of course, Chile was called off before the season even began because of some political problems in the country. But then the key events, obviously, was meant to be held back to back with Argentina, Portugal, held in May. Kenya was meant to be in June, of course. Safari Rally making a return. That was meant to be happening. Finland, New Zealand, again another one making a return after many years off the calendar. Deutschland or Germany, the kind of that one that comes in before Wales, of course, and because Wales was called off in June this year by the team there. And then we were meant to have Japan as the season finale. Of course, that was meant to be where things were meant to end. And of course, one of the replacements got cancelled. The Rally Belgium, which was meant to be held at the start of September. Yeah, so decimated really. I mean, it should have been about 13 rounds in total.
I mean,
7.
It's like with F1 this year. There's so many what I'd call classic events not happening in 2020. Like in F1, we didn't get Monaco, whereas in WRC we didn't get. Rally GB is always a staple.
Yeah.
Most people love Rally GB because of what it offers, and obviously the fans are very passionate. We didn't get Corsica, we didn't get Germany, we didn't get Australia, New Zealand. I love New Zealand because of the gravel and how quick it is as a rally. It's quality. Obviously you went to Rally GB, so you'll know exactly what I mean when I say people are passionate, especially with a Welshman at the top of the charts.
Exactly, yeah. And I think if we'd had that, I think if that had gone ahead, I think we probably would have had quite a different end to the championship. But it is what it is. Holding a mountain event in November, that's what happened in the end with Monte. I think it just added that extra dimension, slightly different dimension to this year, isn't it? So yeah, I think it was spectacular. Of course, let's talk about the events that came after the lockdown. So we had the first ever Rally Estonia, which was.
Do you reckon that was a Tanak influence? Like, would that have gone ahead if Tanak wasn't in the championship?
I think that definitely helped. I think they got the COVID situation a bit more under control. I don't know the figures and numbers and so on, their cases and all the rest of it, but I think they definitely ran a very good event. Given the shortness, they really had to actually get it all set up. Certainly, having Tanak as the champion, I think, would have influenced a bit of that as well in the FIA and their decision. And it was actually really spectacular. Obviously, a Lloyd Brain champion took the victory there.
Convenient enough, yeah.
First Estonian champion and first Estonian rally. Brilliant.
Well, it had to be Tanak, didn't it? I mean,
I didn't see. I did see him taking the victory. To be fair, I think he knows the roads. He's growing up on those. He knows the whole feel of the car. He was getting used to the car, obviously, and he'd taken some very good results. With the second in Sweden, of course. So he certainly was getting a handle on the car. He came into that with two second places with Sweden and Mexico. So we know his quality. He can win in any car now, and that's going to mark him out as a true great in the future. The thing about Estonia is I get the feeling that it's a very similar event in terms of speed to Finland. Perhaps not so many jumps, but in terms of the road very similar.
Yeah.
You weren't going to discount him for taking a victory this year, which is only right. It's only right that the champion should take a victory anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't you think?
I mean, the impressive result from that for me was Craig Breen finishing second, with Ogier third, Evans fourth, and Rovanperä fifth. But Craig Breen, I mean, that's quality drive to get second place there.
Yeah, and I think Craig, we've seen his pace before on that kind of gravel. We saw it in 2016 when he was at Citroën alongside Chris, taking third in the last year of the DS3 WRC. So we know he's got the pace. He's got Paul alongside him. He's a winner, a co-driver winner when he was with Chris. And definitely that partnership working well. And of course, last year they did some events anyway in the Irish Tarmac Championship. So they've been building that partnership for a while, and we saw the results really with second place there. Definitely, it's definitely a good mention there, Aaron. Yeah. So Where else? So obviously we saw Alvin a good fourth place. Bearing in mind he was there or thereabouts in the lead of the championship at that point, so that definitely cemented his championship bid, I think, and taken obviously a victory, a third, 2 fourths at that point, and was still leading the championship at that stage, which is really amazing, really.
I mean, obviously, the next rally was when the first big pendulum swing happened, with Elfin taking the win and Ogier not finishing.
That's it, and you know, there was that stage on Sunday morning, that really long stage, and we saw the quality that Elvin brings to his driving, and just managing the right pace to push out. He's very sensitive to the car. You know, he's got a very good feel of what, you know, what not to do, and, you know, and so on. And yeah, that could have actually won in the championship, because at that point it put him back in the lead. He actually lost the lead, I think, at that point. It put him back in championship lead, and yeah, it could have been everything really for him, couldn't it? And Scott and the Toyota team. So I think when you look at the other drivers that finished up there, Thierry, he'd obviously previously led Turkey, and obviously finally put together a good result, second place. When he'd had a few bad events, scoring any points, so it kind of brought Thierry back in a bit as well, particularly with, as you say, Ogier retiring like that. I don't remember the exact reason. Obviously finished 17th. That was not really what he wanted, but it is a car breaker. I feel like Turkey is kind of the modern day Acropolis. You know, with those huge trucks and boulders. I think some of the footage that we saw showing on there, that these rocks are just massive. Car breakers, tear your wheel off, and there goes your suspension, or there goes a bit of your aero, and so on. So yeah, that was a very good drive from Alvin, and yeah, we really felt, I think at that point, it was anyway.
Yeah, you started to believe, didn't you, that he could actually do this.
Second victory. It was the first person to take a second victory in this topsy-turvy season.
Definitely. I mean, like I've done the top 5 for every other rally, so I'll do it for this one. We had Elvin first, Nerville second, Seb Loeb finished third, which showed there's a lot of life in him yet. Rovanperä fourth, and Gus Greensmith finished fifth, which talks about rookies. Yeah. That's a quality result.
Yeah, definitely, and I think you know, it helped a bit with some of the retirements perhaps for him, but you know, the road was the same for all of them. I think that's when we saw a bit of what Gus could bring to M-Sport in the future, and that quality. He's very sensitive to the tyres, and not overwearing them, not overdoing them. So yeah, it was a good result actually for Gus in Turkey, definitely. So yeah.
Obviously, only 2 rallies left in the season, which were both on Italian soil. First went to Sardinia, which, I mean, just looking at the result, Danny Sardo won it. A long time understudy, really. He's always been in Seb Loeb's shadow, but he picked up the win there. Nerville second, Ogier third, Elvin Evans fourth, and Teemu Suunanen fifth. So quality win for Danny Sardo there.
Yeah, exactly, and second in a row, because he won 2019 as well. Definitely, he's definitely in the later part of his career, I would say, the Spanishman, but definitely showing that pace, and he's got a handle on that car. He works well with the whole team. Gets on well, obviously, with Adamo. the principal at Hyundai, obviously, it was changed in the last year. So it just all came together, didn't it? And road position obviously plays a big role in this. And when you're, lower down the road on a quick event like Sardinia, that's really quite quick. Not quite as quick as Finland or Estonia, but very dry conditions. You've got to be super sensible with the tyre use and so on. Keep, avoiding punctures from the rocks. Not quite as big rocks as somewhere like Turkey, but still pretty big.
Mm.
And that just helps with the speed of the event. It's one of the quicker gravel events out of them all, shall we say. So yeah, it was a good victory for Danny at that stage, and definitely, we'll move on to what that meant for Hyundai later, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it was a good, and then obviously like Elvin still got a good result fourth with Ogier third, so he ate into it a bit, but there was still a decent lead going into the finale.
He had a 14-point lead, which you think of championships, being decided by a few points here and a few points there in favour of one driver over another. That was quite a decent advantage for the Welshmen at this incredible year of WRC. I think, and then we had obviously Monte. So,
I mean,
about Monte.
It's a unique event in itself. That Monza been doing it all around the F1 track and into the forest. So that's quite a special way to end a championship. But it was looking so good for Elvin. He was.
Well,
He was. I mean, he wasn't winning, but he was doing enough to.
He was doing enough. Yeah.
He was in the fight, so he was doing enough to take the championship. But then, obviously, as we all know in the rally, you turn off for 1 second, you hear him misread a pace note, and you down a ditch, which is where Elvin obviously ended up.
Yeah, he was doing his normal, very consistent. He took a couple of stage victories earlier on Friday, and was actually doing really well. And he was third, holding third at that point as well. And as I mentioned earlier, that we discussed the stages, they were running a bit later because of various instances, incidents, should I say, and so on. And so we then came to that corner, and he was obviously going too quick. But you think that on this kind of event, they've got crews that go through, safety crews that go through on the tarmac events just to check the road, particularly with these events that have the snow and so on. They went through much earlier, and it was the second run of this stage. They've already been through the stage earlier, so they thought they had obviously everything under control. But when you look at, if you watch the video, if you get the opportunity to watch the video, you can see he's offline when he comes in that corner. He's on the snow, so you could say, that's kind of a bit of aquaplaning going on, really. And he's definitely not in the right place on the road. But that's just the circumstances, with the snow and so on. So, just to see him slide like that, and he said that he got on the throttle, not brake, he got on the throttle, try and get the front wheels to pull the car round the corner, but it was all too little. It wasn't enough just to stop him just going off the edge and the angle that they're at, and there's no spectators. But even spectators, I don't think you're going to get that car out of there.
No, no chance.
That was it, really.
I mean, it says a lot about him that when Ogier was coming through, he was stood on the side of the road, wasn't he, trying to warn him, trying to say,
Yeah, as soon as
I've just gone off.
He knew, and he's always thinking about the team. That's the thing with Elvin, always thinking about the team. You go back a couple of years when Ogier and Elvin were teammates at M Sport. Ogier was the having, actually gave them some help with mechanic help when Ogier had broken a bit of suspension on an event. So he's very much a team player, Alvin, and we saw that he was out of the car as quickly as he could because he knew Seb was next, and you could just see Seb falling off the road. Now he could have just left it.
I mean, yeah, I'll do the top 5. Ogier, Tanak, Sardo got another good result, third place. Lappi 4th, and Rovanpera 5th. With obviously Elvin finishing 29th in the end. But you look at Elvin's record throughout the season. He was incredibly consistent, not out of the top 4 apart from this result. So it's very harsh for him to not take the title. But with Ogier, been there, done it 6 times already, so he knows what to do in a championship battle.
Yeah, definitely, and so a worthy champion really with Sebastian. I think showing his dark quality, and able to bring great pace to a team that he did consider joining at the start of 2016. Charge my computer. Plug it in. Seventh title for the Frenchman. Sebri takes a person named Sebri takes the championship from it. But crikey, yeah, Elvin, what a year. Last year he finished 4th in the championship. He finished 4th in 2017 after he took victory in Wales that year. Definitely showing his quality there in his first season at Toyota.
I mean, it's been so long since we've had a real bona fide British title challenger. Chris Meek was always there and thereabouts, but he never quite had that upper level. So we've been waiting since the days of Colin McRae and Richard Burns for a real British title contender. So I think it's great to see him back with Elvin doing what he does.
Yeah, I think a lot of British fans, be they English, Scottish, or Welsh, or even the Irish who are mad about their rallying. Having somebody representing these Isles like that in such a quality way with a big boost. I think I'm hoping it will now bring a bit more interest to the championship from this part of the world, shall we say, from greater media interest. A big shame for Elvin, but he showed his qualities this year, definitely. No doubt on that at all.
I mean,
going up against a multiple champion and challenging for that victory.
I mean, obviously, we'll just quickly go through the teams. Do a quick rundown on all 3 of the main teams. So we'll start with M Sport because, I mean, it was an okay year for them, but by their standards, they'd probably want to be a bit closer to Hyundai and Toyota.
Yeah, I think this combination of the 2 Finns. They've done it before when they've had 2 Finns. Go back to Marcus Gronholm and Hirvonen, and then later with Latvala and Hirvonen, and then a bit of a change again. When they started bringing more homegrown talent into the team, they've and of course they took the 2 driver titles in 2017 and 2018 with Sebastian. It was a season where they could have wanted more. They got 1 podium with Timu very early on in Mexico, and then it wasn't really there, was it? I think it's just a shame for a team that's done so well, even in the most recent past, to be kind of not really there or thereabouts. I think when Elvin was there, I think they really benefited from his consistency. And they got on well. And I think what they need to do is just really consolidate their team. They certainly need to keep at least one of their current drivers going into the next 2021, just to maintain some consistency. I think Timu is one of those drivers that is still developing. I think with Lappi, perhaps they might have expected more, being a winner, of course, in that 2017 year in Finland. fact
Yeah,
that he didn't pick a podium is surprising, to be honest.
I mean, it wasn't a terrible year. I mean, he had 2 DNFs, and he was,
Yeah.
he was within. He was there or thereabouts. For the rest of them, he was in the top 6 for most of them. But yeah, like you say, couldn't quite get the podium. It was all right for M Sport, but like if we're going to Hyundai, they had a good year. The pit wins up, but I think Thierry had a bit of a shocker, probably by his standards.
Yeah, he's been a driver that's taken multiple wins over a season, and to only pick up one now, all the way back in January as well, it's quite surprising, nonetheless, to see him sort of not really there. I think when you look at somewhere like Estonia, it's a lot like Finland. He doesn't really get on with that event, so maybe that's a bit of an Achilles heel for the Belgian. Mexico 13th. Well, you can sort of understand that a bit with his championship position at that point. Close to the front on Friday's stages. Whereas obviously, he took a good podium there, but he was much lower down, having obviously retired crashed out in Monte Carlo. So, there is that benefit. But what you got to, look at is that consistency of performance, irrespective of the road that you're presented with. And I think you've got to look at, I think Elvin has proved that now he's a more rounded driver than Thierry. I think he's definitely. I would say he's definitely ahead, and we've seen that very good performances from him throughout the year. So yeah, Thierry, he's been a bridesmaid a few times, hasn't he, in the championship, but never quite got there. Maybe a bit like Nico Hirvonen, perhaps, in that respect.
Yeah, he's been such a he's been such a nearly man over the last few years. It's always been Thierry who's been there or thereabouts, and will we see him win a title? I don't know. I mean,
he's got the pace. It's just the consistency. That's the thing. So.
I mean, obviously, it wasn't a bad year for them, but we'll have to move on to the champions. Toyota quality season that picked up, both titles in Tommy Mäkinen's last year as principal, as he's been. He's stepped down and been replaced by Jari-Matti Latvala. So, will he?
Yeah, definitely. Just to correct you. So Hyundai did take the manufacturer title with a very good result. I think for them, second in a row. Last year, kind of slightly inherited with the cancellation of Australia because of a terrible wildfire that spread through New South Wales region. But this year, they definitely, just think about Hyundai in that respect. They've got a great car. They've got a very good team. They're all capable of victories. Next year, I think we'll probably see if they can actually challenge throughout the year for a driver's title as well, which it's kind of been training there, isn't it, over the years a little bit. But yeah, as you say, moving on to Toyota, delivering another driver's title for the Toyota team and that brand, which is massive in motorsport, really, isn't it? And
yeah, I mean,
for a chat.
They had a quality year. I think there was one day where I think it was Elvin won a rally, Toyota won at Le Mans, and Tom Ingram won in a Toyota in the touring cars. So, good year for Toyota all around, really, not just in rally.
Yeah.
But
and they're using this motorsport activity to ultimately make better cars, which is what they use that whole brand, don't they, in that name and that sort of slogan, shall we say? And definitely Tommy has shown not only an amazing driver, but what a team principal to have in charge. And of course now, he has moved on. He's still within Toyota, so we should talk about that a little bit, I think, as the motorsport director. And now we see Jari-Matti Latvala step into that team principal position for the next few seasons. And Latvala was, he's a massive rally fan anyway. I mean, he's been doing sorts of events in his Celica this year. You just can't bear not being in a car, I think, and drive quickly through those stages. guess he probably won't be able to do so much of that next year, being in charge of the team.
Mm.
I wonder how he'll take that.
I
I
mean,
wonder if we might even see him run a fifth, dare I say it, Yaris in
yeah.
maybe one event.
I mean, will he be as successful as Tommy? Do we think? Will he? I mean, I know the foundations are already there for him to continue being successful, but do you reckon he can keep keep going?
Yeah, I think Tommy's left the team is in a great position. I think that I think he can carry that on. Definitely, maybe he can make it a bit more of his team. Perhaps, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. We've got a completely unchanged team for Toyota going into next year. And that has to bode well for potential another manufacturer's title. Compared to the one they took in 2018, and of course the young Japanese guy Suka is going to be doing a full year in the WRC. So that's interesting, particularly with Alvin's former co-driver as well. It's got to be good for the interest from the Japanese, part of the world, that they've got one of their guys in one of these quick cars, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's everything. I think, isn't it? I don't think we've forgotten anything. So that was World Rally in 2020. What a crazy year! We've still got 7 rallies and plenty of action. With, like we said earlier, Seb Ogier taking the 7th title. So that'll be all for us. We've rambled on long enough, it is. So obviously we'll leave it there. You can follow the pit crew online everywhere. Warren always writes a report on every rally. If you wanted to go and read through them for more detail than we've gone through, we cover everything. But we do pride ourselves on our rally coverage, on tin top coverage. We're not just Formula One. We're across the board. Yeah. I mean,
do it all.
Yeah, I mean, Christ, if it moves, we'll cover it. So yeah, that's it from us. I've been Aaron. You can follow me on Twitter at AaronOwen7. Warren, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter as well, Warren _now WRC Pit Crew Editor. You can find me easily on that. Give us a follow. Follow the crew, Twitter and Instagram and Facebook accounts, and we'll see you in 2021 with more amazing adventures for the WRC.
Here's hoping. Right, cheers guys. We'll see you all out on track.